Hello, and welcome to another self-deprecating episode of We Only Look Thin. I'm Katherine Weigel, and I guess I've lost about 150 pounds. I mean, anybody could do that. And with me today is...
No big deal, Donald Weigel.
Oh, hey.
Hey, what's happening?
Hey, does this podcast make me look fat?
Maybe.
What a bummer start to a great show.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hey, it's us.
Hey.
We're just pretending to be bummers.
Yeah, isn't it a bummer to be a bummer?
Yeah.
Like, I did that very successfully for 41 years. Yeah, I turned it around and made that into a positive.
Yeah, that's what you call acting.
Genius!
I'm doing that old, John Lovitz thing from Saturday Night Live, which is now 100 years ago.
You know what? I actually saw John Lovitz on the corner of Sunset Boulevard once. I was in line for a show.
Yeah.
This is a very long story. But John Lovitz actually pulled up in a convertible Mercedes, and I saw him, but he saw that nobody was noticing that he was at the corner, and he actually let out a ha! Really loud, and everybody turned around to look at him like he wanted people to know that he was at the stop sign. That actually did happen. It was very funny. So I bet he was acting.
And I spend my whole life trying to get people not to notice me.
Yeah, but why do you have such big salads if you don't want to be noticed?
Oh my God, please don't start on the
Don,
big
why
salad.
is your salad so big?
Why is that salad so
you
big?
can eat all that
no
salad?
one could possibly eat a salad that big.
Oh, that's a huge salad.
Yeah.
I bet that'd take me a week to eat.
Which is something people at work have said to me.
Who could eat all that? You know what? I could. That's who. Because I like to pump up the volume.
Pump up the volume.
Yay. So I think before we get into the self-deprecating middle bit of the episode, we're going to start out with a tip of the week.
Tow.
And then we're going to talk about self-deprecation and stuff like that.
Oh, and hey, trigger warning. I know this is supposed to be a family-friendly podcast, but I feel like we're going to say the F word possibly many times.
Oh.
And by F word, I mean fat.
Fat.
Yeah.
That's the 4-letter word.
I don't think we can have this conversation without saying that word. If you prefer never hearing that word at all, then perhaps this isn't the episode for you.
See, fat is a 4-letter word. If you do PHAT,
yeah,
but I think that means something else.
Yeah.
So, trigger warning. We're going to say that word.
And
a
it's
few
not
times.
the 1990s, also.
Yo, dog.
Which
with
is when
2 G's.
people said PHAT.
They did.
Yeah.
So we're going to have a tip of the week.
Tow!
And then we're going to talk about fat things.
And then at the end, we have a product of the week.
Pow!
Pow to you.
Wait, we need more enthusiasm. Pow!
Pow!
There we go. That's better.
I was trying to mix it up to sort of be like, pow to you.
Pow, pow.
Take it down.
Take it down a notch.
Yeah.
For the ladies. So
I didn't say that.
we're going to start out with a tip of the week.
Tow!
Tip of the week to you.
Tip of the week to you, darling.
Thank you. So this tip of the week, I'll just say what it is. Make your weight loss goal a very small goal. There, I said it. I usually predicate it with 1,000 words before I actually tell you what the tip is.
No, there's usually lots of preamble and pre-preamble.
Pre. So when I was on my weight loss journey venture, I only set my weight loss goal to a 5-pound goal. I never thought I was going to lose 100 pounds or 50 pounds or 75 pounds. Let's just name numbers. 6 pounds, 7 pounds, 8 pounds. But I know people who have very big weight loss goals, and they have that, say, on their Fitbit app or whatever weight loss tracking app they have, and they say, oh, you're 75 pounds to goal, you're 100 pounds to goal. And it is way too much to consider losing 100 pounds in one fail swoop or swale foop. I can't remember which it is.
Even 30 or 40 pounds. I mean, that can just feel overwhelming when you see that.
Well, and it never occurred to me that I was going to lose 100 pounds. But what I could visualize, could you lose 5 pounds?
Yes.
Yes. Nobody says, he lost 5 pounds for that role.
Yeah.
Oh, he's so brave.
Oh, my goodness. He put on 5 pounds to play that part.
But 5 pounds is realistic. We know what 5 pounds is. 5 pounds is a sack of sugar. 5 pounds is a 5-pound sack of potatoes.
How much does a 5-pound sack of feathers weigh?
As much as a 5-pound sack of this episode. So, when I was doing Weight Watchers, and again, I don't follow it now, but one of the big things that they focused on was setting a small target goal. And generally that was 5% weight loss. As your first goal. And I would even go smaller than that. And I literally had my goal is 5 pounds. So if you have a larger amount of weight to lose, please change your goal to whatever is 5 pounds less than you are today.
Yeah. And I did not do this actually. I sort of did in my mind, but when I first got my Fitbit and it asked me to put a weight goal in, I just picked the most ridiculously high goal I could imagine, and it was 70 pounds.
You're literally going against what I am telling you.
No, I know, but I'm saying but I don't, if I had to do it over again, I wouldn't do it that way. I put in this 70-pound goal just thinking I will never do this. There's
That's
no chance.
Thinking.
And but I did internally just focus on just losing 1 pound at a time. And even it was, less than that. I was any week I was down even, a percentage of a pound was a victory week. And I focused on that and kept moving forward. And really, even if I didn't lose any weight, just moving forward and sticking to the plan was really a victory in and of itself. But if I had to do it over again, I would definitely just put in, a 5 pound goal, and then you get the badge of hitting that goal. And
I was all about the badges. And let's say you're at 300 pounds. You say oh gosh, I want to lose 150 pounds. That is half your body weight. That is way too much to be okay, well, I'm going to bang that out this month.
Yeah.
That's not possible. But if you think, okay, what will it take to lose 5 pounds? Okay, well, if I eat at a calorie deficit and if I get 10,000 steps in a month and a half, I should be down. That is thinkable. That is within the realm of possibility. So again, go with the 5%. If you're 300 pounds, that means about 15 pounds. If you're 155 pounds, that's just over 7 pounds. That is a much more realistic goal. That is attainable. And once you hit that lower goal, you can then change it to the next 5% or the next 5 pounds. So please consider doing that. Because I also think the danger of saying you have 100 pounds to lose is that if you gain a pound, you're it's not that much. Now I just have 101 pounds to lose.
Yeah, that all or nothing thinking kicks in, and it just feels like it's just too much to even consider.
Well, but I think it also justifies a small gain because you're what's another 2 pounds? What's another 5 pounds? But when you see it as a very small increment of those 5 pounds, okay, well, now I only need to lose 4 pounds. Now it's 3 pounds. Now it's 2 pounds. That is a much more realistic aim, a realistic goal. So please, I beg of you, change your weight loss goal to 5 pounds less than what you are today. And that is our tip of the week.
That is Catherine's tip of the week.
Ow!
It's hers and hers alone, and I have nothing to do with it.
Man, this is becoming a theme where I say that it's all mine. So tip of the week to you.
Tip of the week to you, darling.
Thank you. That got a little tense there.
I don't actually feel bad about it at all. I just think it's funny.
Okay. Well, you were saying you wanted to lose 70 pounds, and I made it very clear from the start that I did it the right way, and you did it the Dawn way.
I did it the Dawn. There's the right way and there's the Donald way.
Anyway, so that was the tip of the week. And now we are going to move on to the middle part of the episode. We received a lovely instant message from Maria, a super fan. She says she's our number one fan. If you think she's wrong and you would like to be our number one fan, let us know.
Yeah, if you want to set up some sort of online fight with Maria to prove you're the number one fan of this show.
We enjoy Starbucks gift cards. If you want to win our love, let us know. No, but Maria posed a question. Do you have something to say?
No, I just think that's funny. We enjoy Starbucks gift cards.
I mean, super fans. No.
Yeah, if you're a real super chum of the show, you'll email us a Starbucks gift card too.
So Maria actually posed a question to us. And it goes as follows. I'm going to paraphrase a little bit because she starts out with like, "You're so good looking and so inspiring."
Dear good lookingers. We can't believe how good looking you are.
Yeah, no, we're making all of that out. So hold on a second. Okay,
what does Maria actually say?
Okay, so she says, when you are at a gathering with women, that goes for me, not with Donald.
Hey, how do you know I don't have gatherings with women?
For example, baby showers, girls' night out, potluck, etc. And every time a skinny girl would say, "Oh, I shouldn't have this. I've gained so much weight," I want to punch them in the face. I feel you.
Yeah.
I've also wanted to punch things. They are skinny and they feel like they are fat, and it makes me feel like asking them, "Are you blind?" Then, of course, I say, "Oh, no, you look good." And then they say, "No, I'm fat." And then these people make me uncomfortable. And either I want to secret eat or binge because they've made the comment. Every woman I know knows someone who says this all the time. Maria, I agree.
Yeah.
I definitely, I think we live in a culture of self-deprecation. It is the norm to downplay any success or any flaw that we think that we have. And
yeah, like you're not really supposed to, say that you've done something or that you've accomplished something. Like you're supposed to keep it to yourself.
Well, and also, like, could you imagine a naturally slim person saying, like, "I'm going to eat this without any judgment because I'm fit and healthy," and
I feel guilt at all about having this. Yeah.
Right. Like, it's not going to impact me at all, whereas it might impact you.
We were talking this morning about that. There's a sketch on Amy Schumer, which is definitely not suitable for all ages. Yeah, like it is definitely not family friendly, but where a bunch of women are sitting around and, one of them says like, "I look so fat." And the other one's like, "Oh no, you look wonderful." And like, she's like, "I'm basically dog food." And
yeah, like it's just each one as the women come up, say something terrible about themselves. One woman says, "Oh, you've got great hair." Like, "Are you kidding me? This is basically just a pile of straw on my head." And we're taught that if someone gives us a compliment, that we have to downplay it and say that it's garbage, that we're not worthy. If you got the job promotion, if you look great, if your skin looks great, if you're, if you've had some success, you downplay it because you don't want to seem boastful. And so that's one part of it. But the other part is feeling personally attacked by someone else's self-deprecating comment.
Yeah.
Because what does it say about you? Like, "Oh, I'm so dumb." Like, "Oh, well, if you're dumb, then I must be really dumb because you went to Harvard and I went to community college." Like,
yeah.
We're always in a one-upsmanship, but also we feel judged by someone else's insecurity. And we don't think someone else has the right to feel insecure if we feel like they're in a better position than we are.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, when I weighed 100 pounds more than I do now, I would do the thing too, where I would say something about myself, to stop somebody else from saying it first.
Oh, for
or
sure.
At least I imagined that they were going to say it first. Or I would do the thing where I said it out loud so that I wanted people to know that I knew I shouldn't be having this like third donut.
And isn't like the whole comedy of, is it Gabriel Iglesias or whatever? He's like, "I'm fluffy."
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
"Oh, I'm so fluffy. I blah, blah, blah." And like, that is such a base form of comedy that all he can talk about is his size.
And when Catherine and I are talking about someone else having a base form of comedy, you know
that we know. But it's that you say it before someone else can say it. But I also, Donald and I really do only look thin.
Yeah.
I still have all of the insecurities that I had 150 pounds ago. It doesn't magically, I didn't go through a force field where suddenly I'm confident and I'm self-assured and I don't feel, like I had a binge like a week ago.
Yeah.
And I woke up the next morning and I felt really bad. I felt really bloated. My clothes were fitting more tightly. And I didn't say I felt fat, but I didn't feel good about myself. And I felt like my self from 150 pounds ago. And there's not a weight at which you suddenly are like,
Yeah.
I feel great. Like, oh, it was just a small setback. I'm positive and moving forward. Like, we still have insecurities.
And I still identify, I spent much more of my life being really overweight than I have being at a goal weight. And I still identify, I just yesterday, literally yesterday, I was at work and I was, it was 3 PM and I had skipped my lunch. I was so busy. I hadn't eaten yet. And I was really hungry and I didn't want to say anything to anyone. And I said to myself, I actually can admit out loud that I am hungry because I used to not be able to do that.
Right.
I used to feel like, when I was much heavier, I felt like I couldn't actually say out loud I was hungry. So I actually said to the room, man, I am starving. And it felt like this weird, almost guilty pleasure relief that I was able to say something like that out loud.
Well, and I think, and I still experience this, I compare myself to people who are thinner than I am. And when they say something about their bodies, so this is getting back to Maria's point, when they say, oh my gosh, I feel so huge, or oh my gosh, nobody could eat that entire salad. Like, God, you'd have to be Donald Weigel to eat a salad that big. I mean, gosh.
Yeah, I used to bring these really big salads to work all the time.
Salad shamed.
and people used to constantly point out how large the salad was.
That's a really big salad. Is that for the whole week?
Huge salad.
Did you bring that for everybody in the office?
And it drove me crazy. Like, I know I was sort of joking. I said I walk around trying not to seek attention, and for some reason my giant salad would draw all this attention to myself. It would drive me crazy.
Donald at one point got a laptop that was like as big as a flat screen television. It was huge. It was like an 18-inch screen or something.
It was 20.
Okay, there we go. And we would go to the airport and he would put it through security, and people would literally, security people would be like, hey, Jim,
TSA
look at this
come
giant
over and look
laptop.
At how large my computer was.
How big is it? Anyway, and he's like, I don't want to bring attention to myself. But here's the thing with hiding one's hunger or being self-conscious is that it leads to secret eating. And to Maria's point, when a slender person, a naturally slim person, makes a self-deprecating comment, we feel the urge, or, we think are you kidding me? I would kill for your body.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Or we support them and say oh my gosh, you're beautiful. But when someone says something negative about themselves, we take it as they're also saying something bad about us. And a lot of times people speak in a vacuum, if you know what I mean. When someone says, I feel fat, it's not because you are also really fat.
Yeah.
They're not saying it at you. Like Donald and I were joking, they're not adding you. I was rebounding this morning and Donald
I was laying down on the couch and we were talking about recording this episode, and she was on the rebounder while we were doing it, and I felt personally attacked because I was laying down and she was getting steps on the rebounder.
But I wasn't.
And I was like, why are you rebounding at me?
Exactly. Right now? But so when a slender person says something self-deprecating, we feel attacked by their comment. And I know personally, I have lost a tremendous amount of weight.
Tremendous amount of weight.
I feel generally good about myself. But over the summer, I was with someone who is smaller than me, about probably 25, 30 pounds less than me. And they were saying oh my gosh, my thighs are huge. And they actually grabbed their thigh and shook it. And it was like this disgusting lump of, flesh, blah, blah, blah. And I felt totally attacked. I was like, well, if you think you look bad, then you must think I look terrible.
Yeah, and you were saying it mwith you not want to eat in front of them.
Oh, and I didn't want to eat in front of them. I had instincts to secret eat. And I was with this person for the weekend, and I felt terrible. I felt huge. I felt defeated. I felt judged. And my instinct was to secret eat. And at one point they said oh, well, I'm not really hungry. So I'm not going to eat until dinner. You know me, I can't eat during the day. I mean, I had a latte this morning, so I couldn't eat for hours, and I was hungry, and I didn't want to eat in front of them.
Well, yeah, and we know other people who will eat like, half of a blueberry and just be like, "Oh, I'm so stuffed. Oh, I couldn't possibly eat more." And it makes me feel very self-conscious about continuing to eat.
But I think we have a culture, and and there are two strata of problems. There's one where we're with other women who or men who also have, enjoy eating. And then there are people who are much thinner than us who make comments that they don't realize are hurting our feelings because we feel judged by it. And if any of it leads to secret eating or to feeling less than, hopefully this episode is going to shed some light on the situation and some things that you can do to battle your instinct to support the thin person in their self-deprecating talk, but also manage our own emotions around the roles we play in enabling that behavior.
Yeah, and you found some interesting research about what generates the self-deprecating talk in the first place.
I sure did, and a lot of it is just stuff that I do myself too. But we found a few articles online. But that whole and I came up with this myself. And internalize this too, because whatever weight you are, there is someone who weighs 50 pounds more than you who is angry every time you say this about yourself.
Right.
Like there's some perfect weight at which you're not allowed to say bad things about yourself. But self-deprecation is deflection. We, as a society, I think, like we were saying before, we're used to saying bad things about ourselves because it is more socially acceptable to downplay ourselves than it is to say something positive. We also say it in the Gretchen Rubin world to justify our indulgences. It's a loophole, like, oh, I really shouldn't have this fifth cinnamon roll, but I'm going to have this fifth cinnamon roll. But I just need to say I'm not going to have it because then...
Which is what I used to do all the time. It is basically the verbal equivalent of Wonder Woman's magic bracelets deflecting bullets.
Pew, 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 pew. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I so want those magic bracelets.
I do too, for
Can
that
we just
matter.
change the episode and just talk about magical bracelets and
invisible planes
invisible
and lassos
jets
that make people tell the truth?
Oh, yes, please. I don't want people to tell the truth,
Yeah.
actually.
No,
it's fine.
We'll skip that
I'm
part.
good with that. So we say self-deprecating things to justify indulgences. We say it to seek approval. Oh my gosh, you're going to have a second beer. I'm going to have a second beer. You're going to have a fifth cinnamon roll. So will I.
And I think that's part of that. We had an episode recently talking about alcohol and people being like, oh, you're not drinking? Like, why are you not drinking? Like, I think it's all tied into that same thing. Like, you feel better when other people are doing the same behavior you're doing.
Right. And we also, like, when we say something bad, that person could actually be deflecting some other insecurity that they have. It's not like, and I used to think this, and we've talked about it before. It's like, you're thin. Well, you don't have any problems in life. Like, what do you mean you're unhappy? You should be happy because you could wear whatever clothes you want. Just being slender doesn't mean that you don't feel self-conscious. Like we were talking to someone earlier in the summer who probably weighs 115 pounds soaking wet.
Yeah, probably.
And she was like, oh my gosh, I'm so heavy. Like, I want to lose weight before my wedding. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, how? But I had to say, like, you know what? It's all relative. Like, I actually had to play it out in my head. It was like, just because she feels fat doesn't mean that she does it. Like, that is not a true feeling that she has.
Right.
But we also say self-deprecating things because we feel like we're a victim and we don't have any choices. And if you don't own your choices, like if you say, I shouldn't have that fifth cinnamon roll, ... but I'm going to anyway. It's like we're a victim of our own habits and our own, like, we're not responsible for our hand reaching for that cinnamon roll because it's just, we're a victim to those choices. But I believe Master Yoda had a really good point, which in my research...
I believe in Master Yoda.
Master Yoda, our good friend of the show.
Friend of the show, Yoda. What's Yoda's last name anyway?
Mr. Yoda. He says, do or do not. There is no try.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you're going to have the cinnamon roll, just have the cinnamon roll. Like, stop like you would never see Yoda being like, oh, I really shouldn't, whatever Yoda does. He eats gruel mostly, but from what I've seen. But it's a habit to predicate our choices with saying something bad about ourselves. And as a heavier person, for me, I could have said to the person I was with this summer, like, oh, no, you're beautiful, you're gorgeous, you don't have anything to worry about. When we participate in that person's narrative, we're just supporting their habit of saying bad things. So we found a couple of articles talking about how to manage other people's negative self-talk. So there was an article by a woman named Melissa Kravitz about how to actually respond when people say bad things about their bodies. Again, fat talk is just something that, like I feel fat or I look fat. It's a social norm and it doesn't have a limit. There's no point at which someone can't say that about themselves. Even if it's 20 pounds less than what you are or 100 pounds less, it can still feel valid. But when we indulge other people's negative self-talk, it perpetuates it. And the more we participate in that negative self-talk, the worse it can get.
Yeah, you don't want to empathize with the comments. You don't want to say like, oh yeah, I feel so fat too, or oh yeah, I shouldn't eat that donut. It's okay to say, or try not to say something like, no, you don't, but rather respond with something more like, your body is beautiful.
Yeah, because it's not, and if you don't feel comfortable saying that, or if it is a naturally slim person and your instinct is to be like, what the frick are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, you're perfect. You're creating sort of an environment of hostility. Another suggestion that they had was to just shut it down. You don't have to engage in that comment. We all know people who want that extra attention. Like, am I pretty? Do I look blah, blah, blah? Like, and if you go, no, you're amazing. You're wonderful. You're a magical starfish. I don't know. Do people say people are magical starfish?
I do.
I went to high school with a girl who would always just be like, am I pretty? And she was very pretty, but everybody would just kind of indulge it. It doesn't help. So if you are not comfortable engaging in supporting someone else's negative self-talk, just change the subject.
Yeah, you can ignore the comments and move on. Like, that can be an effective strategy. If you're a little bit bolder, or if you feel very comfortable with the person, you can say, just really tell them, I don't feel like talking about, or I prefer not to talk about bodies in a negative way. I prefer not to talk about the size or shape of my body or the bodies of other people. And then you can change the topic of conversation and move on.
Yeah. And if you really feel like, if it's a social situation where you feel like you actually know the person and it's not just a passing person that you're never going to see again, you can actually say like, wow, I hear you saying a lot of negative things about your body. Like, do you want to talk about that? I mean, you can actually just address it instead of avoiding it or enabling the behavior.
Yeah, or if it's somebody that you know well, or that you've known for a while, hey, I've heard you make a lot of these comments before. Is there anything I can do to help support you in, making healthier choices in your life?
Well, and the funny thing about that too is that we get so used to complaining about things. Like, I worked with a woman who would complain about a situation day after day after day, and as much support and advice that we would give her, she would just shut it down and say the same thing. And after a while, and please consider this for yourself too, like, it gets really bored. Either you want to change the situation or you want to wallow in it. And if you are in a situation where you hear yourself complaining about the same thing over and over and over again, or someone else complaining about it, actually confronting a person and being like, okay, so what are you going to do about it? Like, do it or don't do it.
Some people actually just prefer to have something to complain about, whether they admit it to themselves or not.
Yeah. But also consider, like, where are these messages coming from? As a society, and we're talking about it right now. If you are out on a girls' night, or you are at, some sort of event and people are saying negative things, it might be a great opportunity to go, you know what? Where is this coming from? Like, why do we think it's okay to say terrible things about ourselves? And actually open a conversation about it, because I think so many of us have insecurities that we think like, oh gosh, she's beautiful and thin. What does she have to complain about?
Yeah.
You might find out that she's got serious insecurities, and that you're not so different after all, and that just because someone is thin, they don't have it all figured out.
Yeah, for sure. And It's important to try and remember to come at this, it's very easy to get angry and to get defensive, but a lot of times people say these things, and it's really important to try and come at it with compassion. And, remember, if your mom is body shaming you, it's probably because she's insecure about her own body and is projecting, she's spent a lifetime feeling insecure about her own self and is projecting it upon you.
And going back to Maria's original point about being around someone who is saying something negative, and in turn, one, internalizing it, and two, turning to secret eating or binging, like that is something that you can control. You can control what someone else's thoughts mean. It doesn't mean if someone says that they feel fat, that they are pointing a finger at you and throwing rotten garbage at you. You make whatever someone says mean whatever you want it to mean. And I had to, this summer in particular, when I was with the person who was saying bad things about their thighs, I had to force myself to not secret eat. I think being accountable and present in your own choices is a huge part of the whole thing. If you are at an event and you've decided that you're going to have a big piece of cheesecake, and someone says like, oh, I could never eat a big piece of cheesecake, be like, you know what? I planned for this. I'm going to enjoy it. And that's all. Like, you don't have to justify it. You don't have to secret eat about it. This summer when I was up against that challenge and the person said like, well, I'm not hungry, I couldn't eat today, I had to force myself to eat in front of them. And it was really weird because my instinct is to secret eat, which is what got me to my highest weight. So I had to purposely be like, well, you know what? I'm hungry and I'm going to eat now. And like Donald saying he was hungry at work, like, I'm very proud of you for actually admitting that instead of secret eating. Like, because before I would wait for the person to go in the other room and then I would wolf down a Cliff Bar and, gulp it down without chewing so that they wouldn't know that I had just eaten something. And it takes courage to just be comfortable in your own skin and not hide your food choices or hide your beverage choices if you've planned for it.
Yeah. And look, it is totally acceptable to ignore comments and move on and keep in mind the things we've talked about, that people are usually not saying these things at you, and try not to internalize them. But if you, and this is a lot easier for me to say than it is to do, if you are feeling bold, you can seize upon these moments as teaching moments and actually, say to somebody, look, when you say that, it is hurtful to me. And
I feel like you are personally judging me when you say that you are fat.
And if you really, can muster the courage to do that, it really, one person at a time can start to change some minds, and people can realize that they are saying these things and maybe they're not thinking about how it's affecting other people. Maybe they're just only thinking about themselves when they say it.
Right. So stop comparing yourself. Stop when someone says something about themselves. Stop thinking that they're saying it at you. Take responsibility for your own food choices and for your own self-worth, and be confident in the path that you are taking. If you are on an eating plan and you feel like you are in control and you are making wise choices, don't let someone else's judgment of the size of your salad or don't let it affect you. Like, oh, you're going to eat that? Yes, I am.
Yes, I am.
Would you like to discuss that? Because I am confident in my food choices. And I let other people's judgment rule me for 40 plus years. And I wasted so much time thinking about, we had joked about it before, like the Goldilocks, like the perfect, too hot, too cold, the perfectly right-sized salad. There's no one person who is the arbiter of the perfect amount of food, the perfect amount of hunger.
Oh man, could I be appointed the arbiter of the perfect amount of food? That would be a great job.
More.
Larger portion, please.
I just imagined you as a little seagull from Finding Nemo.
Oh, yeah.
So make a conscious choice to be positive. Fat isn't a 4-letter word unless you spell it P-H-A-T. Okay, I am working on the circumference of my hips by doing workouts and going for walks and eating mindfully, and I have planned this indulgence. Just keep it center focused and be positive and stop making everything about you and being negative and as though people are secretly judging you.
And set a good example when you're talking about yourself. Say what you mean and mean what you say.
That is a big one.
Instead of doing the passive aggressive thing, like actually, express your feelings, which is a super difficult thing, certainly for me to do. But, really telling people exactly how you feel about it and not beating around the bush can be huge.
Well, and that is really something that I am working on because so many people feel comfortable. Like I have a sibling who has very strong opinions about what you should and shouldn't eat and whatever. And I'm at the point now, I'm like, dude, I've lost, and by dude, it's one of my brothers. I'm like, I've lost 150 pounds. I think I'm okay, and I don't need to eat green juice. Like,
yeah,
I'm okay with my choices. Standing up for yourself, it doesn't come with a certain age privilege or a certain pound weight loss. Stand up for yourself. Hey, you know what? I really don't think that those comments are helpful. You know what? I don't like talking about body shape. That is not something. We are at a celebration right now. I'm enjoying cake and I don't want to talk about body image right now. Like, go somewhere else.
Yeah, for sure.
And be self-reflective. Know what, even if you don't have a perfect food plan, know, like, you know what, this is something that I'm working on personally, and I don't need the judgment of some rando at a party to tell me what value I have in myself. Be with trusted people, whether it's a weight loss accountability group or your Weight Watcher meeting or whatever. Like, don't just assume that because someone says don't wear white after Labor Day, that they know exactly like what you should or should not be eating.
Yeah. And look, I don't have any answers for this. Like, I don't have all the answers on this topic at all. It's something that I'm constantly working on, but it is interesting to me that I can have all of these people that I love and know and trust in my life, and they can tell me all of these positive things, and then one person I don't care about says something negative,
and big computer.
Just internalize it. Well, the big computer one wasn't.
It was a very big computer.
It really was a big computer. But
you brought that on yourself.
Yeah, but like one person could say, that I don't actually care about or trust or have any sort of stock in, says something negative, and suddenly I just get despondent over it. And it's something that I really need to work on, and that probably most of us really need to work on.
I definitely need to work on that. But be like bringing this all back to the beginning of Maria's question about how not to punch someone in the face. Like,
we do not advocate punching people in the face.
We did call it Fight Club, but it's not. We are grown-ups, and we can boo-hoo and be sad that other people have judgment, whether they are judging us or they're not judging us. We can secret revenge eat because other people are judging the size of our salad or of our cheesecake. Or we can realize that we are on our own paths with our own journeys, our own truths, our own challenges, and our own success metrics. And we can just live for ourselves instead of waiting for someone like Darcy in accounting to be approving of the size of our salad or the size of our choices. And if someone else speaks negatively about themselves, we do not need to engage. It is not our job to fix someone else's self-worth or we're just focused on our own journeys, our own paths, and our own truths. And the more you stay in your own lane, the less you're going to worry about someone else's opinion. The more confident you are in your own choice, like, I am eating the cinnamon roll and the latte. I am enjoying every darn minute of it. I am not apologizing for it. Like, you own your choices. Other people will see that and be like, wow, she's really like into herself and into her choices. Like, that is really empowering. Instead of being like, oh, well, this is the worst podcast ever. And I'm like, you're
Wait,
kind
is this the worst podcast ever?
Now.
Oh, good.
But like, nobody wants to be around sad sacks all the time
No, they do not.
This is the Eeyore podcast.
I just told somebody at work that the last group of accountants I worked with were a bunch of sad sacks, and I was so happy that they were not.
Wow, comparison is the thief of joy, Donald.
I just think it's funny, and like, I haven't heard anyone say sad sack in a long time, and twice in a row now.
See, it's all coming together.
It's all coming together.
We are grown-ups. And we have to take responsibility for our own choices and stop being victims to other people's opinions, whether they are judging you or are not judging you. Being confident enough to tell people how you feel. Hey, when you judge the size of my dinner portion, you make me feel self-conscious, and that makes me want to secret eat. Would you like me to secret eat instead of pretending to eat half of this portion and then waking up at midnight and eating in secret because of your shame? Like, I don't think people realize
when you, Mr. TSA man, mention the size of my giant computer, it makes me secret eat. So please stop doing that.
Everything used to make me secret eat.
Yeah,
but
true.
we revenge eat because of other people's opinions. And that is so unhelpful. And if you are going to break the patterns of self-sabotage, you have to start owning your choices, and you have to stay in your own lane, and you have to, I don't know what else. I felt like I needed some sort of third thing. Be cool with your own self. Sorry, I'm just being honest, Donald. I didn't have a third point. I was just hoping I would randomly say something.
I think that eloquently wraps it all up, everyone.
I do too. I'm positive. So
I am positive too.
So Maria, I hope we helped there. If anyone else has any issues with or methods to combat those,
we would love to hear from you. There are many ways to reach out and contact us. If you do have some tips and tricks and techniques that have worked for you in this topic, and you can email us, you can hit us on the socials, etc. We'll say all of that stuff at the end of the show.
But now we're going to move on to
the product of the
Pow!
week. Pow, everybody.
Or should I say,
oh,
what's that noise?
That was the sound of a can opening.
Ooh, what kind of can?
A can of whoop butt. No, a can of sparkling water.
Oh, refreshing. I wish I'd had a sparkling.
I can't believe we've gotten into this is episode 93, I think, that we have not mentioned this as a product of the week before, but I am somebody who, I say used to have a soda addiction, and I got over it largely with the help of sparkling water.
When you're sipping on LaCroix, you know it brings you joy.
That
is
very true.
LaCroix was the gateway drug.
Yeah.
And now, thank goodness, so many companies are
LaCroix
competing
became
for
so
our
successful.
effervescent...
LaCroix, spelled L-E and then new word C-R-O-I-X, sort of got the ball rolling. And there's also Pellegrino or whatever. But it is a sparkling, calorie-free water. It just has the essence of various fruits. And for me, it really scratches that itch for a soda. It's got the bubbles, it feels good, and it's, especially the flavored seltzers, they really taste good, and they make it so that I'm not so desirous of a soda. Well,
and I think that when you make a transition from, your full impact Coca-Cola, and someone says like, wow, well, Ralph's has a really good cola seltzer that's calorie free. If you expect it to taste like a Coca-Cola, that's on you. It is effervescent, and it definitely gives that satisfaction, but it's not going to be exactly the same, but the caloric benefit is fantastic. We can drink them pretty much guilt-free.
Yeah, and it helps to hydrate you, despite what you may have been told, like the sparkling water actually hydrates you as much as regular water.
It's okay. Like, there's no water police.
There is science online that backs me up in saying this. And there are now many, many brands out there. If you like the plain, there's plenty. In addition to LaCroix, we enjoy bubbly. There is an orange vanilla one that Catherine in particular likes from Simple Truth.
Yeah, so there's lots of different brands, but give it a try. I know Lindsay, who is a Wolt chum, friend of the show in Wolt Place. She never enjoyed seltzer water, and recently they installed a seltzer soda station at her work. She's drinking it like there's no tomorrow.
Oh my God, I drink it like there's no tomorrow, and I don't have a seltzer station.
And there is tomorrow.
Yeah.
But it is a great alternative. Our movie theater, which we have talked about before, actually has one of those like soda robots where you can you can dispense whatever.
I am your soda robot.
Soda
How
robot.
may I refresh you?
Oh, I wish it was a soda robot with a Roomba, so it would just like follow you around from room to room.
Man,
That'd be very
you're
pleasant.
dreaming too big.
Too big. Someday, maybe our children's children will be able to do that. But at our local movie theater, instead of getting a Diet Coke, we can actually get a Dasani lemon lime seltzer water. Refreshing.
It is delightful.
Delicious. And
I think we're going to do that this afternoon.
I think we will. So yeah, that's the product of the week. Try one out, see if you like it. Not all are built the same.
Yeah, I'll link to some brands in the show notes. But there are chances are there are tons of them at your grocery store, and that is our product of the week.
Pow,
everybody!
Pop. I was going to say pop of the week.
Pop of the week, everybody.
If you're from Michigan or Indiana, it's the pop of the week.
Yeah, or Pennsylvania. When I moved from Pennsylvania to New Jersey as a teenager, I was made fun of mercilessly for saying pop instead of soda.
Pop.
Yeah, it's a thing.
It is a thing.
The pain is real, everyone.
Yeah, so that is our pain of the week.
That is our pain of the week. Pain of the week to you, dear.
That doesn't sound as good.
No, it's not as
No,
cool.
we're going to wordsmith that in post.
Well, if you enjoyed our show, we would really appreciate if you would go to Apple Podcasts and leave us a review, saying something nice about us, not anything about us looking overweight or anything would be nice.
Someone actually called our podcast. They're like, "Oh, how's We Don't Look Thin going?" It's like, "Oh my, yeah, okay."
Yeah, that's the podcast when we backslide later, which is not going to happen.
And we're not going to save that URL though. We're not going to claim that one. So yeah, find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at We Only Look Thin.
I actually tweeted once earlier this week.
Oh,
yeah.
tweet.
I keep saying like I'm going to do it every day, and then I do it like once in a while.
And we got other things going on. We're too busy being inspirational.
Exactly. But if you have anything, if you have any suggestions for us for episodes, you can reach out to us on Facebook. If you have any techniques that have worked for you in terms of dealing with people, fat shaming, etc., please reach out to us at weonlylookthin@gmail.com.
You can also join us at Wolt Place, WOLT Place, We Only Look Thin Place.
We Only Look Thin Place.
On Facebook, it is an online support community for women. You can go to our website, weonlylookthin.com, and click join our support group to find out more about that. And we've actually recently changed it so that you get your first 7 days are complimentary.
It's
in
a
the group.
free 7-day trial, everyone.
It is. So
you got nothing to lose. Why not sign up?
Except wait.
Yeah. Oh, I like that.
You've got everything to lose. So join us. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much, everyone, for your reviews and your stars. I think we have about 260 star reviews.
Yeah.
On is it iPod?
It's
Cast?
iPod. Yes. No, it's Apple Podcasts.
Apple Podcasts. You know what I would love? I would love 300 of them because that was my starting rate. Would you help us get to that goal of 300 stars?
That would be great.
We know you want to give us a star.
You want to be on
Wolt Chum.
Yeah, Wolt Chum, a Wolt Super Chum, don't you?
You do. I would love more stars. That's super fun. It makes me feel good.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, so if you don't know if your self-deprecation is because you're trying to seek approval or if you're just indulging in societal norms, downplaying your own successes, just remember that Donald and I rolls off the tongue, are an inspiration.
The information that you hear on this podcast is for informational purposes only. The hosts are not medical professionals. You should always consult with your doctor, nurse, or other certified health professional before beginning any diet or fitness program.